There's this idea in psychology that, basically you take this crappy story that you have about all the terrible things that happen to you and you make a slightly less crappy story and you rinse and repeat. And, after 30 years or so, you're Woody Allen, No, you get some relief. What the medicine teaches is you can take everything that doesn't serve you and that's no longer current. You can put it down at your feet, thank it, turn around and walk away from it, which is a very different way.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Love, Loss, and Hallucinations, where we start with those three themes and just see where the conversation takes us. Very excited and honored to have Jeff Wright today as my guest here, sitting next to me at the old desk of knowledge, let's say. I'm just dumbing it that right now. Jeff is a licensed marriage and family therapist, has been for over 20 years.
Yes.
He has also been guiding people in plant medicine ceremonies and helping them integrate those experiences, also for over 2 decades. Along that way, he helped to establish, founded the Medicine Path Native American Church in Berkeley, California. He also facilitates men's groups.
I do.
He's been married, divorced, married again.
I have.
2 beautiful daughters.
Yes.
Dogs, beautiful dogs.
It's beautiful.
You are living the life.
I am.
You're living a life.
I have a very blessed life. Right. I'm in the middle of a very blessed life as we speak.
Well, and hopefully, we'll talk about how you got to that blessed life a little bit, because it's
circuitous path
as it can be, right?
Yes.
I guess we can start with love if you want to start there. It's always a nice place to start.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, through being married, divorced, married again.
Yes.
What have you learned about that thing we called love?
Well, love is what it's all about, I met my wife, my current wife, relatively later in life. And at the time that I met her, I was convinced that I was going to be a gentleman bachelor and date women and enjoy myself that way, because I didn't think there was a woman who would offer me the 2 things that I really knew that I wanted and that I knew that I needed in order to show up in a good way with a partner.
And what were those 2 things?
Those 2 things were, I wanted someone who would love me unconditionally and leave me alone. And I had never experienced that before.
Yeah.
And then I met my wife, Erica Wright, who's an amazing person.
And who's also been on this podcast.
That's right.
You may have caught her earlier. If not, go back and check that one out.
Well,
it's
worth
definitely
your while.
definitely worth watching.
And, she definitely fit the bill. She was not my type. She was different than any woman I've ever dated. And we were friends for a long time, and she was with somebody else, and that relationship ended, and we decided to go on a date. And on that date, she moved in. And we've been together ever since. And, the unconditional love is definitely there. It's really interesting. She does not really have a hard time holding a good thought for me. I sometimes, like everybody else, have a hard time holding a good thought for myself.
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
That's often more the challenge, right?
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, is this for real? Sometimes.
Oh, from her.
Yeah. I trusted the evidence is there, but I'm just like, what's the angle here? Part of me wonders. And then that's dispelled by all the evidence that I gather just from being with her. There's just the only thing that's going on is she's loving me.
Wow.
And she's really good at leaving me alone.
Yeah,
and
what does that mean? Because, when you say that, most people are like, leave me alone.
Yeah, it's like, my experience is that, a good quality of connection is created through having a good quality of separation in a relationship. like my friend and brother and teacher George, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, used to say, you can't miss someone if they don't go away. And my wife we're very connected, and we also have very separate lives. We live in the same house, and we parent our children very much together, and we love each other very much, but we have pretty separate lives.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well, because since we have separate lives, we always have something to bring to the conversation.
Right.
Like
different outside experiences.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of pressure off of our relationship. What I've found as a marriage counselor and a relationship counselor is that marriages don't really work very well if you're trying to get your needs met through the marriage. They're really great for giving and receiving the love, having and raising babies if you want to do that, and in enjoying life and navigating life together. But they're not really great at meeting your needs. And there's this romantic ideal
I was just going to say that.
In our culture about, one, you complete me. Two, if you really love me, you would never have to say you're sorry. You can read my mind. If you can't, that means you don't love me. Yeah. It's like, if you love me, then you'll never be upset at me. Things like that. And, it's a lot of pressure, and it's impossible to sustain.
Yeah. And all those messages are like thrown at us from like as soon as you can see a TV commercial or watch a Disney movie, or
that's right.
Especially the older ones, I would say. Maybe not as much. It's still relevant.
Yeah, in a way, it seems to have a little bit more snarkiness on it now.
The writers have gotten
that's right. They used to just serve it up plain.
Yeah.
And now it's got a little bit of a twist on it. But
well, I'm curious, did you come to these realizations from being a marriage counselor, or just kind of on your own and through your own path and your own work, or maybe a combination of both?
Yeah, I think a combination of both, and also with my relationship with, the sacred master plant medicines too. They teach, the love. They teach clarity in love. And, it's kind of like you can tell if something is aligned with the love or it's not. It's either the love or it's not the love. A lot of people are you should really do this. This will be good for you, and it's the thing. But somebody presents it to you in that way, it may not be loving. And, what is the point?
Yeah.
Well,
and also, like you say, if it's not the love, then it's not the love, which sounds really simple and obvious. Maybe too obvious for a lot of people to get, or to really like take to heart, unless you've been.
Well, it can sound like a platitude or a cliche.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the love is the thing that clarifies, liberates, and moves things forward in a way that's connected. It moves forward toward connection and toward a state of interdependence and mutuality in intimate relationships and in other relationships as well. And the other thing is based on fear. It doesn't feel the same way. It feels like a manipulation, or it feels like a control thing, or how the patterns of codependency feel, which they feel very connected in a way that feels very dramatic and sick.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask, it's a lot of love you're talking about.
It's a lot of love.
A lot of love. And was there, and again, I have a feeling this is probably going to go back to some plant medicine, but was there some work to release for yourself, like some of these fears and codependencies that you might have used to have, to make more space for the just to receive the love?
I think it's if you want the love, as I did and still do, there's a price. The price is you have to be willing to make yourself vulnerable. It's like the places where we make ourselves vulnerable are the docking stations for the love.
Yeah.
But when you talk about an intimate relationship, what you're making yourself vulnerable to is being heartbroken, or being betrayed, or or in some other way being tricked.
Right.
like this thing I was saying before. It's like, I sometimes wonder, it's like, does my wife really not have any negative opinions about me? Or is she just being nice, And I've tried. She's very kind, but she's not nice, It's
Except when she wakes you up when you're napping.
Yeah, that's another story. And a great one. Her favorite thing to do.
Yes, there are some, just a quick aside, there's some epic videos on Eric Wright's Instagram page of Jeff being woken up in the middle of a nap.
That's right, my wife's favorite thing.
It is.
So if it's about, can you tolerate the discomfort of being vulnerable without having to do anything about it?
Yeah.
So all of these self-protective mechanisms that we employ, the codependent patterning, the addictive processes, the drama, the making problems in your life or out of your relationships, intellectualizing things, making them complicated. Those are all strategies that we employ consciously, semi-consciously, to create a buffer between us and the peril of the vulnerability. But if you can stand the peril of the vulnerability, then what you get in return is you get this ease of connection, and you get this love, this flow of love.
Yep.
Which is just, life force.
Absolutely.
And, it's just what it's all about.
Yeah. And that resonates with me just from like my big thing as far as like the buffer to the vulnerability has always been like getting self-defensive. Like,
yes,
I do that so well, and I've done it so well, and I've been working on it for years. And like, even now, like, I'll still feel it coming. It's still in there, even no matter how much I've done. But every time I'm able to not and just be vulnerable and be there and listen and receive, it always goes so much better.
That's right. Well, and what's great is like your wife knows this.
She does know
this.
Yes,
so it's kind of like when she sees it happening, she can help. Mm-hmm. She can either double down and put the pressure on, which makes you feel more defensive. Or she can back up a little bit and allow you to find your bearing again.
Yeah.
And this is what the relationship practice is all about. It's like, how can I help this person give me what I want? Is what I'm doing now, making it harder or easier.
Yeah. And ultimately, we all want love. And,
yes.
Even Joe Tough Guy, who might deny it, he's wanting it.
But it's like the gasoline, it fuels us, but it can also light us on fire. It's very perilous in the most delicious way.
Most delicious way. Well, yeah, and probably more so for a man, but I think both men and women in our culture have a hard time with vulnerability.
Yes, I think women have, in general, as a generalization, more facility and a more conscious relationship with a broader range of their feeling states. I don't know if it's easier for them to be vulnerable or not. I think that's
a good differentiation, yeah.
Yeah, and then, we mentioned this, we talked about this before, the two man feelings, angry and fine.
I might have had some of them. I think I've had those too.
Yeah, the equipment's a little bit different, but yeah, and I think, I always tell the men that I work with, it's like, when you're in a relationship and you feel overwhelmed and annoyed, it's a good sign that that's vulnerability.
How so?
Well, it's kind of like if we know the two feelings of angry and fine, how we know that we're having a feeling oftentimes is we feel annoyed. It's a protective emotion. And if you can stop and pause and breathe and buy yourself a little bit of time, and you can find what's underneath that, which is a softness where the vulnerability is. Yeah. This is the defensiveness is a way of, protecting against that. And see, knowing that that's your go-to, then you can identify. It's like, I must be feeling really vulnerable. Yeah. Because I'm having to defend myself.
I don't know if I've ever thought of it in that term exactly. It's more like, but I love it. For me, it was always like, I just need to be soft and like receive and really hear what she's saying. But it is being vulnerable.
Okay, so this is the thing. Then you can see that this protective mechanism that you struggled with, that mine is getting poopy and aggrieved. Yours is being defensive. Like it's sullen and aggrieved.
Yes.
I think the technical psychology term is shitty. You can use it as an indicator of where you are in your intention to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because when that's activated, that's how you know that you're vulnerable. And then you can step back from the reactive stance and allow for the vulnerability. And if you're with a really great person who knows that about you and knows that it's in their interest to facilitate that, they can help.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes just my own experience, it has helped to have a conversation before, like when no one is triggered.
Yes.
That like preemptively put out there, like, okay, if I feel like I'm going to get triggered, I may need to leave the room for 10 minutes.
Yes.
And just take a breather and then come back. I did that in the moment once, did not go well.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like you're abandoning the other person.
That's right.
But if it's like,
or running away.
running away.
But if you have an agreement about that, then it's in her interest to let you go, because you're telling her that at this moment I am going to be utterly useless to you. If you give me a minute,
we can be more constructive around what's going on here.
I tell men this I tell couples this all the time. It's, this isn't always true, but it seems like in a lot of relationships between men and women, it's helpful if the woman is in charge of the agenda of the conversation more often than not, and the man is in charge of the pace.
Oh, huh. How do men receive that?
When they hear what the reasons why, I think it's a relief.
That they don't have to be in charge.
Well, it's a relief because they don't have to perform when they're overwhelmed.
And this is the reason why.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if you think about how boys and girls are acculturated, girls have a very different relationship with their emotional self than men do in general.
Yeah.
They can actually have feelings, identify them in real time, and talk about them eloquently and constructively, and relate them back to other times they've had that feeling with other people and bring it back around to this time. And for a lot of men, they feel like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Or they feel annoyed.
Yep.
Or they check out. And, this isn't strictly gender specific, of course. So it's kind of, I always use this image as like, well, it's helpful to consider that for a lot of men, their feelings are at the bottom of a well. And it takes a little while to crank up the little bucket.
You got to get a lot of buckets of
water. So if they control
there.
the pace, then it's easier to have a pattern of successful conversations, interactions.
I love that. I'm going to talk to Tiffany about that, I think.
Yeah, it's really great. It's
that way.
A great strategy for men in relationships is to, plea for mercy. I'm different from you.
Yeah.
I'm not your girlfriend.
Right.
I can't interact with you the way, and I'm not interested in interacting with you in that way.
Yeah, it's a different relationship, different vibe, different. Different. I almost want to say like service each is giving the other.
That's right.
From girlfriend to girlfriend, husband to wife.
That's right. And you want to make these differences between your equipment and your way and her way complementary rather than at odds.
Yeah. It's
not the elimination of the differences.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't eliminate the differences.
No.
One other thing I wanted to say about vulnerability that came to mind is this one example that Brene Brown, has written a lot about vulnerability, has a great podcast about it, all that sort of thing. And I just remember this one story where she was going to talk to military leaders and military personnel. And, she comes in and she started to talk about vulnerability. And they're like, wait, we're the Army. That's or whoever it was.
We don't do that.
We don't do that here. And she's like, you guys are the most vulnerable in the world. You put yourself out there in death, in death's way.
All their training is to account for that.
Yeah.
So they can perform well in that state.
But exactly, being able to perform in this vulnerable state.
That's
and once they understood it from that perspective, like, oh wow, you're right.
That's right.
And apparently changed a lot for that group of folks. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see, when they come back, even if they haven't been in combat or in war, but they come back from that training, a lot of the difficulty they have is to have a different relationship with the vulnerability rather than just creating these ways of, operating through it, right? And tucking it away and being trained to stay focused without, necessarily giving it its due. Then when they come back and they try to be with their families and be walking around, it's really intense.
Yeah, yeah. Have you experienced that in your practice?
Yeah, I experienced a lot. I've worked with a couple of military people. I've worked with a lot of first responders, and they experience that a lot. The people that have had a lot of secondary trauma, which has been around the trauma that other people are experiencing, and regular trauma too. There's a way our psyche has of protecting the core of our vulnerability in response to peril and danger, and it's hard to turn that off.
Right, then it doesn't know when to shut it down.
That's
and
right.
Come back. Yeah,
and it's like learning how to be rehumanized.
No easy task.
No, but a good one, a fruitful one. It's just like becoming sober. If you're an addict, it's terrible being an addict, and getting sober is arduous, and no one would want to choose to have to do that. But if you're in that position and you do it, you're better off than if you had never been that way, because the depth of character and humility that it carves out in you is something that people that don't deal with that have to whatever consider, wanting.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something that doesn't get talked a lot about outside of, say, AA circles or that sort of thing. Like even as hard as it is, and it's terrible, and absolutely, but then
it's a gift.
There can be gifts on the other side if you can make it there and do the work.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is the illustration. It's like our natural inclination, our relationship with life, is we take the circumstances that we're presented with and we put them in these piles. This is good, this is bad, right, wrong, just, unjust, preferred, not preferred.
Yeah.
What if all of it is here for our healing? It's all for us. Then the question becomes, how does it serve, and what can I make of it?
How does it serve, and what can I make of it?
The stuff that's unsubtle and harder for us to get around is backloaded with a lot more healing potential because it's humbling. Being humble is just being optimized human, state of humanness.
I'm wondering, speaking of that, and getting in tune with your own vulnerability, is there a story or experience of your own of being humbled?
Yeah, a lot of stories. I spent my youth being really lost and really, I was an addict, and I was pretty insane and violent and just paranoid and nuts, and I couldn't really find my way out of it. It just felt like that was me. So my idea of myself is like, oh, I'm all fucked up. That's exactly the language too.
That's what you thought of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what other people were
I just
like
assumed,
saying
I
at
don't
you
know.
too.
I don't know. I think, sometimes I could, when I was going off and behaving badly, or I was cutting people out, or I was, as they say in the AA rooms, if I was in my cups, which is, really at the effect of the addictions people could see, but I presented pretty well. I could pretend that I was normal. But
go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that, I had this therapist. She was this really great therapist. She's still around and she still works. Her name is Karen Carrington. She's in San Francisco. She was my first therapist. She's the reason I'm not a lawyer today and I'm a therapist. I went to quit law school and went to therapy school when I was with her. And I used to go into her office and I would sit there and I would shake my head and mutter at my feet. It's like, why am I so fucked up? I'm so depressed. And the only thing she ever would say about it to me is, oh dear, don't call it depressed. Call it brooding. It's much sexier. She just didn't give any energy at all.
She's like, I'm not even recognizing that.
Yeah, she goes, it's just not you. And I learned a lot from that because as a therapist, there's a huge pull to identify with people's pain and to create little stories and alters to it.
Yeah.
And it's hard, once you've done all the work to create an alter to it, it's hard to tear the altar down and go and be a happy person. And she was just like, let's not give that. You're giving that enough energy yourself.
Right.
Yeah, let's not do that here.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a very, very unique way of approaching it.
Yeah, it is. Because you're right. I mean, most therapists are like, oh.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's a problem here. Let's focus on this problem.
Yeah.
And the assumption is that there's something wrong. And, what the plant medicine teaches and what my dear friend Karen Carrington taught was, and the truth is there's nothing wrong. There never has been. No mistakes have been made. Everything is here for your healing. Every time that you get yourself in a jackpot or fail or anything, all it does is create another opportunity to come back to yourself and to re-choose. It's just like every unsuccessful interaction in a relationship creates an opportunity for repair, which sometimes is more useful than having things go well all the time.
Yes.
You've had that experience.
I've had that experience. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I guess, that does beg the question, certainly on a relationship with other people basis, I can see that making sense. Do you feel that also applies to, say, the world as a whole, when there's just so much chaos and death and terribleness happening? It's hard to get there.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's a very, very challenging time that we live in. Mm-hmm. If you're awake to any degree, it's hard to not feel the despair.
Yes, agreed.
And the fear, And yes, there have been a lot worse times and, all that, but not for our generation or the generations adjacent to ours.
Yeah.
And, the thing that I'm always reminded of is, you can't have hero firefighters without burning buildings. There's a relationship between joy and pain and redemption and despair. And it creates the need for it. All the terriblenesses in the world creates the need for the love. And I think there's never been a time when there hasn't been terribleness.
This is true.
Yes. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yep.
And getting around that is, talk about humility to, how is that okay? How is, what's going on with the people being shipped off and, and all the violence and the duplicity and the terrible behavior. How is it okay? And it's like, one thing that I learned from the medicine, actually from my teacher of the medicine, George Bertelstein, was you cannot have transformation without the element of chaos being present.
So we're in a big transformational moment, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agents of chaos at work.
Yes.
I use this image when my clients inevitably talk to me about this and how they feel about what's going on in the world. It's like, if you get the image of a caterpillar in your mind, and then the image of a butterfly, and then there's the cocoon in the middle, whatever's going on in that cocoon, if you look at the before and the after, it must be terrible. It must be just horrific.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing. But I don't think there's a guarantee, I think it can just keep going south for a long time. I don't think forever.
Yeah.
So I think there's a choice that needs to be made, are we going to stand for the love or for the fear?
Yeah. And hopefully it's going to blossom into more love as a reaction to all the horribleness.
Yeah, I just hope in my lifetime,
Yeah, me too.
In my children's lifetime,
Yeah.
We've had some experience of that. Before World War II, the nations in Europe were at war for millennia, constantly.
Yeah.
And this big conflagration happened that killed 45 million people. And then coming out the other side of that, they had 80 years of relative, pretty much universal peace, in that way.
Yeah.
Which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we won't have to get to that.
I think
experience another 80 years.
I don't think we need to have the bloodletting.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't. I hope we don't. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm trying not to be toxic in my optimism, and trying to stay grounded. But I know that, it serves no one to be upset and in despair.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to defeat.
Saps your own energy. Yeah.
That's right. It just adds to the suffering.
Yeah.
I think like the thing that we can do as individuals, like I'm not an activist, I'm not a politician, I'm not even a social person,
I mean, even that he's sitting here next to me, I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. Coming out of my skin. No, very comfortable. Yeah. But you can make yourself happy. Happy people behave really well.
Yeah.
Because they have no reason not to.
Yeah.
And that's a discipline.
Mm-hmm. It is a discipline.
Be a warrior of light,
Yeah.
See it in those terms of being a warrior. You bring light to the equation, and the light and the heat from the light burns off the darkness, it illuminates the darkness, and it burns off all the pain that's underneath the bad behavior.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like you mentioned him a couple times, George Bertelstein.
Yes. George Bertelstein, author of this really great book.
It is a very great book.
A Clear and Simple Prayer. You can get it on Amazon.
This is true.
Probably other places too.
Yeah, actually, Tiffany and my wife, once we got that book, we had this little morning ritual where we would just read each other one of the pages starting every morning to start every day.
Yes.
Great way to, that and a cup of coffee, it's hard to beat
It's
as
good.
far as starting the day that way. But so unintentionally, when I was like starting to ask people to be a guest on this podcast, I invited 4 people that have George connections without really realizing it till
That's great.
after the fact, which was Erica, your wife.
Yes.
Zev Schiller.
Oh, yes.
And Eli Marienthal. And
Yes.
you are now the 4th. And I feel that is kind of the perfect timeline because I feel you had the closest and longest relationship with him. So maybe just, say a little bit about George and what all was involved in there. And because I think I already said, I feel he was a warrior of light. And
For sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he was a very interesting man. He was, a Jewish guy from Dayton, Ohio, and he was a master of the indigenous medicine ways, and not just of one way. It's very controversial. He had an altar that was dedicated to several different plant medicines and other medicines, which is unusual and controversial. It's not traditional. And he was called to carry all those different medicines. Turn out that they are very complementary. And like he said, he goes, yes, they love each other. They speak to one another in Spanish. That's what he used to say. And, there came a time when we needed to form a church in order to make offering these sacraments legal so that we could do it in a good way.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, he needed a temporal leader. He was a spiritual leader, needed a temporal leader, and he enrolled me into doing that. It was about 25 years ago, and we started this church, and thousands of people came through. Over those years, we offered a day-long healing medicine ceremony, 3 or 4 Saturdays a month for 13 years. And he was a combat veteran in Vietnam.
Speaking of the grief and pain.
Yeah. And when he came home, he was talking to one of his friends who was also a combat veteran. They weren't in there together. They grew up together. And he asked him, you know, I'm so insane. It's like, what do I do? And the guy told him, George, just act normal. So for 20 years, that's what he did. He acted normal, and he would run these PTSD groups while he was racked with PTSD and acting normal.
Like falling apart inside, but the mask is strong.
Yeah, you're drinking and smoking and all the things that one needs to do in order
to cope.
You know, regulate yourself, and, you know, and found himself way into this Native American sweat lodge the day before his wedding. You know, 30 years ago, and fell in love with that medicine, and the woman who was running the lodge became his first teacher. She ended up being my adopted sister, and he healed his life. You know, he didn't have to act normal anymore. He could just be George.
Yeah.
And the thing that he always used to say, which was also apparent, was, if George can do it, anybody can do it. You know, and from my experience I mentioned before with the great Karen Carrington, it's like, oh, if George can do it, I can do it. Because I didn't think I could. I was still pretty insane when I met him. And I just kept going to these ceremonies and helped putting altars together and learning how to build an altar and create that. Just healed me up from the inside out.
Yeah, so it sounds like love from him, the love you learned for him, and for the altar and the space and the medicine.
It was a very vulnerable thing for him. You know, he was very charismatic person, but at the time he was very wary of other people.
Yeah. Well, and especially in the plant medicine world 20 years ago, I mean, it is not where it is today. I mean, I never thought we would even be discussing that sort of thing on a podcast right now.
And, you know, he was the first person who ever loved me that I felt unconditional. I'm sure my parents did, you know, and others, but the one that it was discernible to me, you know, the only thing he would offer me is the love. And I know that I was annoying to him, as he was to me. And it was just always about the love. And he was always really great with me.
Wow.
And it just healed it all. That relationship just healed all that up, that wariness and that fear up from the inside out. And it was just very, very powerful.
Was there any extra challenges you feel for yourself because, just because, you know, it's a man and men don't show each other?
Oh my God, yes. It was awkward and freaky and weird, you know, and then he's like, very early on, he started doing this thing where I would come and see him and he would kiss me right on the mouth. And I was like, oh, whoa. You know, and I'm like, all right, you know, and it's like, and he would do that with everybody, which was, you know, very vulnerable thing to do. And it was just like, and it was amazing, you know, and I was just like, you know, and I think I was really ready for it, though. I was really sick and tired of myself and tired of being alone and crazy. And, you know, he just was never weird, you know. He never did that weird thing that men who are defended do.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is?
It shows up in different ways, you know. It can show up in this cutting jokiness.
Yes. Us men are very good at that.
Posturing. You know, it can show up in the vibe and the competition. It can show up in, you know, aloofness or being checked out. It can show up in just, you know, just being weird. And you wonder, like, you know, when you connect with somebody, it's like, you know, do you feel them out? Like, if somebody is not responsible for that and they're in the room, if they're a man, they're very unsafe.
Yeah.
But if a man is relaxed and happy, it's the safest thing in the world. A relaxed, happy man in the middle of a room. It makes everybody relax.
Yeah, changes the whole vibe of the
whole vibe.
Of the whole room, yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to allow yourself to be really vulnerable, because if you're defended, people can feel that wariness, which comes, it's fear.
Yeah, and you can feel that across a room, like,
right?
Not a problem.
And if you're sensitive to it, just light you up, shut you down, make you act weird.
Yeah.
And the key, he used to say, George used to say all this time, he's like, yeah, just don't be weird, man.
Just don't be weird.
It went from just act normal to just don't be weird.
Which the irony of that is not acting weird is weird in the rest of society.
That's right.
For much of society. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to ask one thing just to get it out of the way, especially for people that are watching this and we're talking about, Native American church and that whole thing. How does that work? I mean, you don't look too Native American.
Oh, how does it work for white people to do that?
I just, because I know there's going to be people.
I have done the genetics, and I was, not surprised and very saddened to learn I have 0% Native American in me. And George is a nice Jewish man from Dayton, Ohio. There's not a lot of Native going on there. Well, it all comes from his teacher. His teacher's name, her name was Barrett Eagle Bear, and she was the adopted spirit daughter of a man named Norbert Running, who was the leader of the Inamaka Sundance on the Rosebud Reservation, Sikanju Lakota people. And she found her way to him. He adopted her as his daughter and taught her about the sacred pipe and the sweat lodge. Mm-hmm. And then asked her if she would go and share those ceremonies and that medicine with white people.
Oh, wow. Why would he ask that?
The reason was, it's interesting, it's not this very high-minded reason. He says, if we give the ceremonies and the medicines to the white people, it'll heal their hearts and they'll leave us alone. They'll stop doing the thing that they're doing to us. So that's so she was...
That's powerful.
Yeah, she was designated by him as a bridge from that way to this one. She was ethnically half white and half Cherokee, and then adopted spiritually in the Lakota tradition. And so she came out to California and started doing all these sweat lodges right during the AIDS crisis, and thousands of people that were dying of AIDS would come into her sweat lodge and pray for their life.
Wow.
And George and my uncle Millard Murphy were her firekeepers. So, what George used to say, it's not appropriation if somebody gives it to you. And if you're honoring it with your life in a good way.
Right.
It's very controversial, though. There are a lot of people that don't agree with that. Yeah. And I respect that. And I don't know what to say. It's like, it doesn't stop me, but I'm mindful of that, to honor these ways in a good way. And the people that offered them to us and, carried them through all the devastation and the genocide.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The ceremonies are still here because of those people.
Well, and I'm glad we brought it up anyway, just to honor that lineage.
Yeah, Norbert Running, and then his son Norman, who was Eagle Bear's adopted brother. He is the current chief of the Inamaka Sundance in South Dakota in Rosebud. It's a very, very poor part of the country, very desperate place. And if you ever want to help out, I think there's a GoFundMe or some Patreon page for them.
I think there is too, and we'll look that up. We'll put it in the show notes if
I think we can find it.
Yeah,
I also like to raise money for the Rosebud Boys and Girls Club. They do a lot of really great work for the youth and on the res. So, and they're very appreciative of anything that people can give them.
Well, we'll include that too.
Yeah, they're really great people.
So I'm kind of curious. Did the becoming a therapist coincide with finding medicine and plant medicine and starting the whole that whole line?
The timing was aligned. I was an intern. I had already gotten my master's degree in counseling psychology, and I was interning at this place called the Marina Counseling Center, which is still there in San Francisco. And somebody invited me to go to this sacred pipe ceremony, and I went, and I immediately recognized it as the place for me to go when I went there, and I just kept going back. So it happened concurrently, but not really related in any other way except the person that told me about it was a colleague.
Do you feel like they serve each other now?
Oh my God, it's everything.
Yeah.
My approach is somewhat eclectic. I draw from a lot of traditions and from my own unique life experience as well, but I'm basically teaching everything the medicine taught me. Like there's this idea in psychology that, basically you take this crappy story that you have about all the terrible things that happen to you and you make a slightly less crappy story and you rinse and repeat. And, after 30 years or so, you're Woody Allen, No, you get some relief. What the medicine teaches is you can take everything that doesn't serve you and that's no longer current. You can put it down at your feet, thank it, turn around and walk away from it, which is a very different way.
Yeah, that's it feels much more of a what is the word I'm looking for? Just cutting. It's not the word I'm looking for, but it's like not easing through these iterations, but
that's right.
Quitting cold turkey. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a prayer. A prayer isn't. It's not like a quarter that you put in a gumball machine, and you turn the knob and it's a thing that you live every day. Like my prayer was first to not be crazy, and then I learned that you don't pray for what you don't want, you pray for what you do want. And I prayed to be, happy, have a good heart, a good mind, courage and strength to live my life, and to be in a good way, and to be a good man. And I would just make this prayer over and over and try to align my thoughts, words, and actions with this prayer, which I'm still doing today. And it's absolutely a failure-based system.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I remember I was learning about this from George, and he was telling me, how the prayer works. I'm like, man, this sounds really hard. He goes, oh no, man, it's much worse than that. He goes, it's not hard. He goes, it's impossible, but you only need to do it well enough to make it work. He goes, it's like being a hitter in baseball. He goes, the numbers are exactly the same in spiritual development as they are in baseball. Because it's amazing how they match up. All true ways teaching the same things, of course. He says if you're a hitter in baseball and you fail to get a hit 7 out of 10 times, you have a 300 batting average, which means you're an all-star and have a $10 million a year contract. So you have to approach it that way.
Yeah.
You have to practice over and over and over.
And not getting too self-critical.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't get too hard on yourself, but you also have to have a high standard. Right? You can't be too hard on yourself, but you have a high standard. It's not perfectionism, it's impeccability, which means without stain. Perfectionism it needs to be something different than this. So seeing how you can do better doesn't imply that you're doing badly. You always get to be better.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean anything about you. The gods don't care whether you're effective or even, not corrupt.
Yeah.
You're a human being. There's no deserve in any of it. But if you want to be better and you want to be happy and you want to be liberated, you can totally do that. But you have to let go of any attachment you have to, fear-based thoughts, words, actions.
You will be loved less if you aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Letting go of that one.
Oh yeah.
That would be another one of mine, for sure.
Yeah, and how it's just soul crushing and so impossible. It's a rigged game.
Yeah.
And it just keeps the love away because you're just distracted.
Distracted by trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back a little bit on just the word prayer.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
It's
it can
be a
button
hot
word.
button word for some people.
God and prayer.
Yeah.
All right, I can give you something.
Give me something about that.
Okay, it's helpful. This is good. This is how I help my people bridge the gap from their formerly Jewish Catholic upbringing that they're so tortured by to having a spiritual life and not being religious. Okay, religion, first, anything that's true doesn't require belief. Only things that aren't true require belief. Santa Claus is nothing without belief.
Right.
Right? He's everything if you're a believer. Ask any 5-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't believe, it's like, sorry.
It's cute.
But on the other hand, Santa Claus requires belief. Bruce Springsteen, not so much. He's a guy who lives in Jersey. You can knock on his door and say, hey, Bruce, what's going on? You don't have to believe in him.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like true things don't require any belief. So what you're trying to do, and if you see that, it's helpful to see that the words love, life, truth, and God all mean the same thing. Love, life, truth, God are the same. So all a prayer is, in the spiritual aspect of your life is you have a relationship with your life. You're an inextricable part of life. We don't do wholeness and unity very well with our minds, so we say we have a relationship with our life. In that relationship, you would be the junior partner. Because life's bigger than you. It's obvious.
Yeah.
And all the prayers is the thoughts you give your attention to, the language that you use when you're speaking to yourself, perfectionist, and others, and then your choices, habits, actions, behaviors. You put them into your life, and your life will give you an honest return. When I was all fucked up, depressed, all my life showed, and everybody sucked. All life showed me was evidence of that. Now that I'm a beautiful child of God who has a very blessed life, who wants to do nothing but be all about the love, my life shows me that. Except when I devolve into my poopiness, and then everything dims. And images of Donald Trump and really bad pop music that my daughters listen to all comes rushing at me.
You're like, I can't cope, no more.
That's right. And then one day I hear the strains of Stevie Wonder, and I see the light and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember who I am. It's like I'm trying to align my thoughts, words, and actions with something that is true. And how you know if something is true is it has when you're aligned with it, it causes clarity and a sense of liberation and expansion and ease. And that's what prayers are. So, they're not devotional things and scripts and stuff like that, or wishes, or help me to be a man who can be happy.
So the prayer is aligning with that deeper essence of what is true.
That's right.
Within yourself already.
Yeah, which is also an inextricable part of everything else. That's right. Yeah. We don't do the unity. And
we aren't good at that.
Our bicameral subject-object oriented minds don't really do the wholeness.
Yeah. Although plant medicine can help you see that.
This is the thing. This is what the plant medicine opens your consciousness and your awareness and your body internally to the fundamental truth of your humanity and your place in everything. And then, so basically what you're doing is you're going from the construct that you're walking around in, and you're ingesting these medicines, offering them, to yourself in a good way with a prayer, and it puts you in that place in your consciousness, in this place that one might call reality. It's the opposite of what people think. They think it's an extra normal state. It's not. It's actually, that's how things really are.
Right.
And the construct over the top of it is the thing that's baffling and confusing.
And takes us off our paths.
That's right. And then what you can do is through the prayer, reminding yourself of that by praying to be aligned with everything that you learn when you're, and everything that you receive when you're praying with those medicines. You do it as a practice in your walking around life, and you can bring that, make yourself from being a citizen back into being a human being.
Absolutely. And I think, that, what you said right there is just such an important part of working with plant medicine. It's not going to retreat and having one integration session afterwards and being like, I'm healed, it's all good. No, it's a continuous process.
Yeah, and
You
it's
have
like
to
when
be
you,
aware and keep giving the prayer.
that's right. But you don't have you don't have to guzzle medicine your whole all the time. You don't have to go to 500 plant medicine ceremonies like I did. It's like it's in your body. It's like all you have to one encounter, and it's always there, and you can always when you're praying to something that's real, you can feel it in your body. It's right there.
Yeah.
You are alive. You are a person, and you're love.
Your love, and you're connected
And
to...
everything's going to be okay somehow. I don't know exactly how that works, but
somehow.
there's this thing that the medicine always teaches me. And I talk to other people too, and they've had a similar experience. And every time I'm, praying with plant medicine, I always ask it, and it always says the same thing, and it makes no sense to me, but it's very intriguing. It's like not only is everything, all the terribleness that happened in the past, not only is it okay and there's, no fault and there's no mistakes, but it never happened.
It never happened.
That's what the medicine always says.
Huh.
I think it has something to do with the time-space continuum.
Yeah, and that parallel universes and
where it's like
particle physics is finding now.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about it is like a way that, we can attach our awareness and our, way of being and thinking to that is like, it's not the way that you think it was. It's not what you think it was.
Yeah.
Is the thought that you have about what happened in the past disempowering or is it empowering? You get to choose. And you can see like some people have terrible things happen and it ruins their life. Some people have terrible things happen and it's the thing that made them the person that they are.
I know a number of people like that.
And we get to choose. And this is the thing where, as human beings, one of our attributes or defects is we have sovereignty. Like the plant medicine won't do anything to you. And, if you want, like if you pray to be healed of addiction, it'll support that, but it's not going to stop you from drinking.
Right. That's still...
Yeah, it doesn't touch your sovereignty and your responsibility for your own life. It just supports whatever prayer you're making.
Yeah.
If your prayer is to be a drunk, it'll support that. Happily. Yeah. Happily.
I want to circle back to George just for one more thing. And that's around, and we sort of touched on this earlier about like love and joy being a counter to pain and all the terribleness happening in the world. But like George passed away a year ago, a year and a half ago now. And I mean, that's a loss.
Big loss,
on
still grieving.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean,
we're going to talk about the loss now, huh?
We're going to talk about a little loss here
in
the last bit. Like,
all right. I'll try to not cry to the degree where I can't talk.
Well, again, I think it's another thing that our culture doesn't do well.
No.
We don't do loss well at all. Well, we don't do grieving well.
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's scary.
Yeah. I mean, how do you say with your clients who are going through loss, how do you help support them? Or what do you think that most people don't kind of get about doing loss in a healthier way?
Yeah, I have it's just a huge privilege that I get to sit with people who've had, terrible losses, lost children who died and, and it's a privilege, and I learned so much from them. And it's important to remember that a couple of things about grief, grief, it's not depression. People define it as depression or as some pathology, because it's uncomfortable and doesn't look good. But grief, all it is love. It's just love. It's the dark side of the love, Yeah. It's the love that's there in your heart, but when you can't hold that person's hand anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of having all this love, but not being able to hold them.
Yeah, and show it to them in person.
Or talk to them, or fight with them. Or struggle and suffer and all that's be a human being with them anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get around the outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's honest. And it's edifying. The only thing there is to do is to take the love and move it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the medicine teaches this. The direction of the medicine is always forward.
Mm.
And I think that has a lot to do with what we know about physics and astrophysics and everything too. But and the other thing about grief is you don't need. It's great. Grief is awesome. You don't need to do anything about it.
Yeah.
It'll let you know when it needs your attention, and it'll be at the oddest times. Like sometimes you think you should be falling out and be miserable and like this, and you're just fine, and you're wondering why you're just fine. And then other times you're just minding your business and driving the car, and then the song comes on the radio, and you're just in puddles.
Yeah.
And can be like 40 years after the event.
Mm-hmm.
And all the grief needs is for you to attend to it when it's present.
The time and the space.
You just stop and breathe and, roll around on the ground and, do this and, cry.
Yeah. Give yourself more than 3 days, which seems to be what our culture likes to say. Yeah, you got 3 days to get over it and move on. So
yeah, what a shame,
Yeah.
It's such a great gift.
Yeah, there's such a raw beauty to it.
It
really.
softens your heart. It's like your heart gets broken and all the love falls out in front of you and you can on the floor. And there it is, all the love. There's so much.
Yeah. And what a tribute to the person or thing that you're grieving.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like if you really want to honor, and with all the difficulties that's going on in our political world and, our ideas about what our country stands for and all this stuff and how that's kind of being shifted and changed. And there's a lot of grief in that, like our idea of who we are. Mm-hmm. It's really important to grieve it. If you don't, then you're going to start behaving badly.
Yes.
Which we don't need more of that.
Yeah, we definitely don't need more of that. There's already enough of that right now.
It's important to grieve it, but grieve happily.
Yeah. Grieve happily.
Grieve happily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with great gusto and, great creativity and, and enjoy it. Enjoy the grief. You don't enjoy the grief the same way that you enjoy the happiness. You enjoy it in a different way. Mm-hmm. It, makes you feel insular and it has a cozy quality to it after it's, devastating and macabre. Mm. It settles into this place where, there's this warmth in it.
Like a comforter, sort of wrapping that grief around you. Yeah.
It helps you be, anything that makes you remember that you're a human being is useful. Our culture teaches us, John Trudell used to talk about how be mindful of your spirit because you live in a culture that eats spirits. You live in a place that eats spirits.
Yes.
And our job is to reclaim the spirit and to be a human being, And there's nothing more human than falling in love or grieving a loss. What was the other one?
Hallucinations.
And hallucinating.
Way to work that all in. Well, and in honor of love and loss and hallucinations, I think we should end on, you have a passage from George's book that I think would be a great place to end today.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I do counseling and I do men's groups, online men's groups, and I just started doing this thing. I wanted to have a morning practice, but I'm essentially a lazy person. So what I did is I put this thing out there. I'm going to have an online morning meditation at 6 a.m. Pacific time that anybody can go to for free. It's just 20 minutes long. It's basic. But I have to go because
you're leading.
Yeah, I haven't missed a day yet, and now I'm a morning practice person. And one of the things that I do is I read from George Burlstein's book, A Clear and Simple Prayer, Then we have a little 10-minute meditation. We do a little breathing. Then we have a 10-minute meditation. And at the end, we do a little writing exercise offline.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to get my ass out of bed and get there.
It's early.
It's early. Well, I was up at 5:30.
One of my clients is a musician. He says, you should do one for musicians and have it be at 1 PM. I said, yeah, musicians, bartenders, and degenerates.
Perfect. All the good ones. Before you start to read that, though, where can people find you online or groups or anything like that?
All things me at jeffwrightmft.com.
And that's JEFF.
It is.
WRIGHT.
Jeff Wright, JEFF, WRIGHT, MFT.com.
Okay.
Got a couple of men's groups starting very, very soon. Got the morning meditation, got the couples counseling and the other therapy. My writing is on it's a beautiful website.
It's very nicely done. Very
Abby
professionally
Cajola,
constructed.
My web person.
Okay. Well, Jeff, it was awesome to have you here today. I think I just want to have you read this, and we're just going to.
And then we're going to go out.
We're just going to let it go out. And
this is great. Yeah. This was today's reading at the morning meditation. It's one of my favorites. I'm so glad. There was only one person there other than me, but we enjoyed it. Here we go. This is by George Bertelstein. The unfortunate past is present in every moment we are unhappy. There is no possibility of being fully present or truly moving forward unless we are willing to let go of the grip of troubled thoughts and feelings that confine us in what is really no place at all. The water says we are not our thoughts or our feelings. What we are is something immeasurably wise that knows how to make more life from everything that will make more life and knows what will not as well. Our ideas, opinions, and preferences and all of our feelings are our best attempts to deal with how truly brilliant the life that we call I really is.